Hey everybody, I'm Kevin. So today we're going to talk about if you've ever seen one of my talks, I always come up with dumb titles and stuff like that. Um, and what we're going to do is we're going to talk about learning from Macedonia. And this is actually a topic, and I just said it, right? Like this started mainly because I got mad one day. I believe that much of my career has been driven by me being irritated and going forward with something. And in this case, what I'm irritated with is the sheer number of sales and marketing people that exaggerate what's going on. They exaggerate what's happening, and they outright lie. And we're going to talk about some of these examples. We're going to talk about what that means. I'm going to rant stories. I am not going to tell the story that triggered this talk for a variety of reasons, and the people who know, and that's fine. I'm happy to know it. But I will talk about things that I've seen, things that I've witnessed. If you follow me on social media, you'll know that yesterday I ranted about a salesperson, and we'll do it again. We are working with a partner. They're a new partner to us, and we finally, after a month and a half, almost 2 months, finally got the partner on a call with our client, and the salesperson bombed. Salesperson wasn't prepared. The salesperson didn't know what they were talking about, did not know what we were talking about, and presented something that was completely different than what the client wanted. Yes, I'm angry. That is not what this talk is about. What I did get a kick out of was after I posted on every social media platform that I'm on, practically, I actually got messages from partners that we do work with, like, you talk about us? I like, no, I'm not talking about you. And by the way, if I was talking about you, I'd hope you'd know, right? But I don't have much of a filter is part of the problem. And here's the issue. We can rant about salespeople. We can rant about marketing people. The reality is we are undermining ourselves by allowing this to move forward. We are undermining the industry. We're undermining our ethics. We're undermining our mission by allowing companies and people to push forward ideas that aren't accurate, right? And we're going to talk about some of them. We'll talk about AI pen testing and stuff like that. And and this sounds melodramatic to some people. When I've talked about this in preparation of this talk today, I had a number of people say to me, but Kevin, like, is it really that big a deal for a salesperson to say, oh yeah, we could do that, and then them not be able to do it? And I'm like, yes, that's a lie. And I know that this is like I don't know, well, we shouldn't lie to people. I'm in that. I believe very strongly that one of the main reasons that InfoSec can succeed is that we understand often, not everybody, not all the time, but we understand how important it is to do the right thing. And I think that's a slogan for a sneaker company or something, but the reality is that is what we should be looking at doing. I people who come to me for career advice, people come to me and talk to me about what should I do? What should I be? I often talk about, is that a hill you want to die on? Right? Is that something that is so critical, so important to you, you're going to die? Kill me for this. I don't care, but this is important. We have to do this right. We have to get this correct. And then if it is a hill to die on, fight that fucking battle, right? Die on that hill if that's what it takes. And this, in my opinion, is a hill I'll die on. This is a hill I will fight to keep. This is a hill that I'm going to stand up and wave the flags and say, shoot at me if that's what you need to do. But the reality is, we as an industry, we as an organization, we as individuals have to fight the sheer amount of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that is used in marketing and sales for InfoSec. So that's what we're going to talk about. There you go. And the idea is this learning from Macedonia. The reality is, I think everybody knows Alexander the Great, right? We've all read about him. History talked about him, like, and I know that, you know, there's people, well, maybe he's real, maybe he's not real, and I don't mean him as an individual, but I mean the stories we tell and everything else like that. And I'll tell you right now, I've read so much about Alexander the Great, both previously and in preparation. I feel like I know him really closely, so I'm just going to call him Alex. But so Alex built this empire, right? And he went out and he inherited the empire, and then proceeded to expand, right? Started taking over and conquering areas and building out this real big empire that we still talk about today, you know, 3,000 years later or something. It was like 600 BC or something like that. I'm not good at numbers. And so we often remember him as this great leader. And I use the word great as a pun because we actually call him Alexander the Great. Look what he did, look what he built. And it's like, yeah, but after he died, it fell apart. And to me, that's a critical thing to understand, right? It fell apart after he died, not because he didn't have a successor chosen alone. Yes, that was an aspect. But in my opinion, based on what I read, what I've seen, what I've talked to other people about, it died, it fell apart because he never built a foundation of what this empire should be. And he oversold it, right? There's historians talk about when they took over Persia and he started adopting some of the Persian affectations, may be the right word. Like if I remember correctly, and by the way, I'm not a historian. I barely made it out of high school. So if I say things that are wrong, just laugh at me. It's fine. But like one of the things he did was that he made people bow to him, which at that time was something the Persians did, but the Greeks did not. And then people, that was something they treated the gods. You bowed to a god, not a general or a leader or an emperor. And so a lot of people thought he was going to try to deify himself, and that caused problems. And as I'm reading this stuff, I'm thinking about how we try to sell things today, right? And this is John and I talk all the time, and John had something come up, which is why he's not here today. He may be able to join later. But John and I've talked about this for years, is that right? Like we try our damnedest that when people buy from us, they're buying because they think we know what we're talking about, and we have not pretended to know something we don't, right? And this is a critical thing for us because as much as I would love to be able to run secure ideas, and I know that John would love to run Black Hills without having to worry about sales, without having to worry about income and new customers and existing customers and all that kind of stuff. We just like to be able to have fun times and hack cool stuff and help people out. The reality is, as a business owner, you have to think about this. You have to consider it. There's this book, and I'm blanking on the author. I'm sorry, but the book is called From Good to Great. And this is a really interesting book as a business owner. I think everybody who is in a job where they want to do more, be better, help things succeed should read this book. It's called From Good to Great. And the idea was, and I'm paraphrasing the foreword on the book, the author of the book had this previous book that was like Great Companies or something like that. And he did this study of companies that met the qualifications of being great, whatever that meant for the book, and did this study and put it out there. And according to the author, the feedback that they received was that lots of people really enjoyed the book, but they didn't work at a great company. They worked at a good company. And what they wanted was advice, guidance, things to show them how to become a great company, right? What's that process? What's the steps, right? Don't just tell me how cool these other people are. Like now I have FOMO, right? I'm fear of missing out because I'm not there. I'm not at that company and I don't know how to get there, right? So him and his team, he was a professor or something at a university, and he, unpaid interns or something, probably, I don't know, right? They did a study and they came up with these criteria. And one of the main criteria, I think the thing that set this apart from a lot of other things people talk about and did, was that he required that the company that was considered great, that went from good to great, they had to have a period of time after the great CEO or board of directors, whatever, had left, right? So like they actually give the example in the book of Lee Iacocca. Lee Iacocca was seen as this amazing leader, this great leader. I don't know if that's real, if he was, I'm, whatever, but he was seen as one. But then when he left the organization went back to not being as great as they were. Right. And this is a key thing that ties to Alex over here, right? Is Alex was Lee Iacocca. He did this great stuff, this amazing stuff. I mean, he probably killed more people than Lee Iacocca did, but I don't know. Maybe. But that's probably the caption that people will share. Kevin compared Lee Iacocca to Alexander the Great and only talked about how many people he killed. But that when Alex died and the empire broke apart, that meant that empire wasn't great, according to the qualifiers in this book, From Good to Great. And the book Good to Great talks about, like finding your seat on the bus and putting the right people on the bus and the right people on the bus in the right seat, right? Because you could be the best person for my company, but if I put you in a job that's not good for you, that's a problem. Okay. And honestly, I think that's actually what we see a lot with sales and marketing people is they may be great people. They may be awesome at what they want to do, but they're in a role that they're not necessarily made for. Okay. They're in the wrong seat on the bus. When Alex died and the empire started to fall apart, right? That showed us the wrong people were on the bus. The wrong people were in the wrong seats, right? And we need to think about that. And as I look at cybersecurity and all of the things that we do, this is what I see is these problems. Okay, so let's start with, cybersecurity is a buzzword. I know this is blasphemy, right? I'm going to tell you that cybersecurity is a cost. Especially when we talk about pen testing and red teaming and purple teaming and everything else like that. I can't pen test you to security, right? I hacked you so hard, your network is now secure. I can't do that. I finish the pen test, I give you a report, and this is bad news. You're still insecure, right? My pen test report did not solve your problems. Okay. So we talk about cybersecurity, and the reality is I was just on a webcast with Tara Wheeler. And she and I talked about quite a bit about the idea that people will do enough security to meet compliance. Right. And that's something that's a hard pill to swallow, right? But what we have to recognize is what we do today is popular, right? I remember almost 20 years ago when I got into security, more than 20 years ago that I got into security. God, when we first started talking about pen testing and having a pen test done, because I was a customer at that point, right? I was an admin at a company that was getting pen tests done. When we talked about it, we had to convince management why. We had to convince, one, we had to educate them what it even meant, right? Like, what is a pen test? Well, you get some Bics and you pull the cap off, put the cap on, pull the cap off, put the cap on, and you see if it breaks the pen. We had to convince people. Nowadays, I'm up in B-Sides Charm. Brittany and I are up there. We're leaving for the airport. We actually had a really nice breakfast with a friend of mine, Giovanni, who is just this amazing guy. He's awesome. If you don't know Giovanni, your life is not as good as it could be. He's just a good person. And he took us to breakfast. We went, we ended up at a bad breakfast place. Don't go to the IHOP in Towson, Maryland. God, it was awful. But afterwards, he had to leave. But the problem was he went a different direction than we were going to get to the airport. And he was like, "Oh, I could take you." I was like, "No, man, the airport's half an hour away. You're already 2 hours from home. Go home. Don't worry about it. I can get a lift." So we get in a lift and we're driving. We get this Lyft driver, just random woman in the lift, and we're talking a little bit because Lyft drivers feel like they have to talk to you. And feel bad about that because they're trying to be nice, and they're probably bored because they're in a car by themselves all the time. But I just don't like people talking to me, I guess. I don't know. I'm a curmudgeonly old man. And the Lyft driver says, so what were you guys here for? And we're like, oh, we're at a conference. And she said, oh, what type of conference? And Brittany's like, oh, it's a security conference. She goes, oh, are you penetration testers? What? You pulled that out of a hat. What the heck, right? Like, we're in 2024 and random Lyft drivers know what penetration testing was. And I actually asked, like, she's not a student studying to be one, like that. Like, she just happened, I don't know what, I don't remember now. She read an article or something online about it and it stuck in her head. It's like, yeah, that's what we are. And so we've transitioned from this, like, nobody knows what it is to everybody knows what it is, or most people know what it is, right? Like, our parents understand what we do, kinda, right? I guess. So it's this buzzword. And the problem with buzzwords is that marketing becomes crazy, right? This is one of the problems, right? Like, I love, like, Oracle Unbreakable. That's an old one, but I had to put it up there because that, to my mind, as is the negative day threat detection, which I'll talk about in a second. But Oracle announcing they were unbreakable, right? We're unhackable. You can't get us. Ha 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 ha. We're amazing. And just mentioning Oracle, I'm probably violating a license agreement or something. But they announced they were unbreakable, and geez, I think David Litchfield released 21 0 days against the Oracle system the next afternoon, type of thing. Like, it was like that type of thing, like, mic drop, and you suck. Like, this is the type of stuff we see. What is it? Telesystems has doubled down on the hackers suck hashtag and things like this. Like, and they actually released an apology. I hope you heard the italics and quotes around the word apology. Let me be clear. If your apology video starts with, well, we understand we upset some people, and then ends with, but we're maintaining the same hashtag because screw you hippies, right? You're not apologizing. What you're doing is you're play acting to pretend that you care. And I'll be blunt, I don't even know what Telesystems does, but if I ever hear somebody's using them, I'm gonna say don't. Right? Like, period. You screwed up your marketing because you went crazy. But we see this, right? The 100% protection and detection in the 2023 MITRE Ingenuity attack evaluations. Look, I'm not going to make fun of MITRE. I think MITRE is awesome. I think the attack framework is one of the best things we have going on today. But the minute you tell me, and I want to be clear, MITRE didn't say this, they did. The minute you tell me that you have a 100% detection rate, and then in the small print, it's, well, in this one evaluation that we did testing, that we knew what the test was and we were prepared for it and everything else like that, I'm going to call you a liar, right? Like, plain and simple, you can't have 100% detection, right? You can't. And I'm not saying this like, oh, no, this is awful. I mean it from a perspective of, that's an absolute, and all absolutes are false, including that one, right? It's just the way it works. So the minute you tell me you have 100% detection rate, I'm going to look elsewhere. Because I'll tell you right now, Sentinel-1, CrowdStrike, which are the two that are up here, I can bypass them. John's team can bypass them. And I want to be clear, this is not Kevin saying, hey, I'm the best hacker in the world, I can bypass these things. It's not necessarily hard in most organizations' deployments to bypass them, right? And there's a variety of reasons for that, right? But the reality is, when you say something like, we are 100% at detecting this, I don't trust you anymore, right? Not that I trusted you a lot before because you're a sales and marketing team, but right? Then we come to Solera. I don't even know if Solera still exists. I want to be very clear. When I dealt with them in the past, they were actually a decent company. The people there were awesome people, but they had this marketing thing, and I saw it first on a T-shirt, right? And it on the back of the T-shirt, it was a student in class, and it said negative day protection. And I know what they mean. I know what they mean. What they mean is, we can detect attacks before that exploit is publicly known, well known, whatever. That's what they mean. But we all know what a 0 day is, right? Or an O day, depending on who you want to yell at today. A 0 day is a flaw that has an exploit. It's an exploit for a flaw that there is no patch for, right? That's a 0 day, right? Once we know about it, once we can fix it, once we can minimize the risk, whatever, it's no longer a 0 day. Right, I guess it's a 1 day or a 2 day. Like, we can make that up. Let's make that a thing. We'll make it all 3 days. Like, it's a 0 day and then it becomes a 3 day. How about that? We'll start that. I don't know, random weird stuff coming out of my mouth. But so if a 0 day is the fact that the flaw exists and there's an exploit, but there isn't a patch or a protection against it yet, right? Then would that not mean that a negative day is that the flaw doesn't exist? Which would mean the system isn't vulnerable, which would mean that I can offer you 100% protection against flaws that don't exist without an agent, without a performance impact. I can solve that problem. If the flaw doesn't exist, I will protect you from any exploit against it. And I'll guarantee it. I will guarantee that you will not be hacked by flaws that don't exist or via flaws that don't exist. Done. Guaranteed. 100%. Pay me. You know what? I'll even do it cheap. Give me $1 per computer, right? And it's not even $1 a month. It's $1. Give me $1 for every computer you got. And I guarantee that every flaw that doesn't exist on that machine will not cause that machine to be exploited. Done? Because that's what that means. That's what negative day protection means if we parse the words. We see all of this marketing out there. And here's the bad part. This is the part Brittany and I were talking about yesterday in the office. We were talking and she was complaining, and she's right, that one of the biggest frustrations is the number of people who buy this, that will actually purchase these products based on this fact, right? They see the market and they go, I need that. I need that now, right? It's kind of like, how many people here have watched fast food commercials? And I'll tell you right now, I will tell you right now, that if you served me a quarter pounder with cheese that was on TV, and I don't mean the way they make it look that way, where it's like paint and all that kind. I mean, if I went to a McDonald's and I was handed a quarter pounder with cheese that looked the way the TV looked, I would eat at McDonald's every damn day. I would. They look amazing. They look delicious. Let's say Taco Bell. Taco Bell's a good example. You look at what they put on TV for Taco Bell, like, wow, here's our Taco Supreme, whatever, right? And it's awesome. And then you go to the Taco Bell or you go to the McDonald's, and it honestly looks like they stepped on it before they served it, right? Like, what the hell is that? Like, I'll admit things I probably shouldn't admit. I like cheesy roll-ups. This is the simplest damn thing in the world. It is a tortilla, cheese rolled up and put in that steamer thing they do so the cheese melts. That's it. And they're like $1, right? I don't go all the time for this. This is my food when I land in Jacksonville at like 1 a.m. and I haven't eaten all day because I've been working and then on planes or whatever. I'm hungry, but I also know that when I get home, I'm going to crash, right? I get to the apartment, I lay down, I go to sleep. So I don't want to eat stuff that's going to upset my stomach, and I'm old. So I'll go and I'll get like 2 or 3 of these cheesy roll-ups. And they sound delicious. Tortilla with cheese, how could this be bad? Put a little sauce on them. But you get handed this roll that I swear that they take it and they're like, watch out, and they throw it in a bag and then they hand it to you. And yeah, you only paid $1, but it honestly looks like somebody vomited it out. And that's what we get. That's marketing. Okay. And then we make it worse because we then drag salespeople into it. And I want to be clear, I'm not talking about all salespeople here. I know some really, really good salespeople. And when I say good, I don't mean because they accomplish sales. That's awesome. That's their core job. But because they do a really good job at explaining stuff. They do a job of only selling the customer what the customer actually needs, actually working with the customer, which I'll talk about in a second, right? And I'm biased, right? Brittany, our salesperson, does that. All of the people at Black Hills that does sales, my experience with them is the same. That they're presenting stuff that's well done and presented well. Red Siege, another organization, the people who do sales for them do good jobs. The problem is we see salespeople lying all the time, right? They're bashing their competitor. Let me be clear. If your sales pitch is that other guy sucks, then you don't have a sales pitch. What you have is a schoolyard bully, right? That's what you are. You're a schoolyard bully. And I have no respect for you, right? Because if your only way of selling your service or your product or your thing, whatever that is by telling people how much the other person sucks, then really what you're doing is you're telling us that you don't know why you're good at anything. And I'm not saying that your product isn't good. I'm not saying your service isn't good. I'm saying you're not good. You're not capable of doing the right thing. Because here's what we see. We see that there's exaggerations, right? The number of times as a company buying something or an organization that needed a service or a product that I would talk to a salesperson and they would just straight up exaggerate what they could do. Back when I was at InGuardians, we actually this was a pain in the butt. We got together with this vendor who I'm not going to name because of a non-disclosure agreement. Sorry, I want to name them. This vendor came to InGuardians and they said, "Hey, we have this product and we want you to test it. And as part of your testing, and I don't mean test it from a security perspective, like that's part of it, but what we want you to do is we want you to test how effective we are at protecting things." I think I'm being vague enough. And part of what they did was they wanted us to help draft configurations and rules and detections to, you're a real pen tester, pen test through this thing, and then let us help detect what you did, right? And one of the things that they bragged about was how they were ruleless. They were not just pattern matching traffic, right? And they bragged about all these capabilities, and they're bragging to an organization. We were literally being handed a device to test the system and write up a report publicly that talked about what the system could do so that they could use it to sell more of the product, right? So they absolutely undermined their own sales because they overpromised stuff they couldn't do to the people who were going to help them market it, right? And so they actually hooked me up with one of the salespeople, and the salespeople talked about all the capabilities, and then they shipped me a device, and I plugged it in, and I got it installed and configured, and I started messing with it. And this thing not only could not do anything that they claimed. I mean, and I mean, when I say anything, I mean anything. It could not do what they claimed it could do. And most of the things they compared, like they said, oh, look, our competitors do this rule-based detection or pattern matching based detection. We don't do that. In every case, something they had explicitly called out as not doing, they were actually doing, right? It's kind of like that abuser or that in a relationship where the person's like, you're cheating on me. And it's like, well, but I'm not. And then they're like, oh, wait, I'm actually cheating on you or whatever, right? That stereotype. They exaggerate their capabilities. And the reason it was a problem was I actually had to go to my boss, Mike Poor, and say, hey, dude, I know this is a big contract, but we can't do this because what we've agreed to do, their system isn't capable of doing. And so we're set up to fail. We cannot help them detect our traffic because the detections they would need that they claim to have, the detection capabilities, they don't have it. They just don't. It's like, this isn't a matter of it doesn't work right because of the way I configured it. It's not. It's a matter of they do not do it. And here's what happened. When I got the device, I had trouble getting things set up. And part of the reasons I had trouble getting set up was it was badly documented. And part of the reason was because it had claimed to be able to do things, and I could not figure out where in the interface to configure that. Well, then I got on customer support, and then I got handed to help desk, and then I got handed like a level 27 technician or whatever. And that lady said to me, yeah, Kevin, we can't do that yet. We're working on it. Our system doesn't do that. I'm like, what do you mean your system doesn't do it? That's what I'm building for you is rules. And I hesitate to use the word rules because it was supposed to be ruleless, but you know what I mean? Like this is the key of what we're doing. And the lady, she was smart as anything. As a matter of fact, she was smart enough to quit that job pretty quickly after that. and get a new job. But she's like, yeah, we don't do that. I don't know why they told you. They've been marketing that for a while. We don't. We're not there yet. We're probably 6-9 months, and you know as well as I do that means we're probably a year and a half from rolling that out. Right. So that's the first thing, exaggeration. I've already talked about bashing competitors. That's one that happens all the time. I don't understand it. As a matter of fact, when I get, if you've ever been on a sales call with me, if the customer I'm talking to is talking about a competitor, I do my dangest not to say anything bad about that competitor, even when that competitor sucks. Right. Like one of the problems is my face, like my face reveal. So you'll be like, oh yeah, I work with so and so. Oh, they're good, I guess. Are you happy with them? Right? Like, but the other problem we see all the time is the salesperson is ignorant of what the customer needs. What is the goal of what they're trying to do? What's the purpose of this? Not what's the best thing for my numbers? What's the like I here at Secure Ideas, and my understanding is Black Hills is the same way. We don't have sales quotas. Like, obviously, I want more sales this month than the last year this month, right? Like, obviously, I want to do better, but we don't give quotas to our people. We don't say you have to sell $1 million today. We don't do that, and the reason we don't do that is because we want our people to sell the customer what is best for the customer, not what is best for them meeting their quota. Because I'll tell you right now, the sheer number of times that we get on a call with a customer and the customer's like, I need a pen test. And we're like, you don't actually. You need a less expensive service. Or they'll come to us and they'll say, I need a black box test. Okay, so a black box test probably costs twice as much as a gray box test, just because of the amount of effort necessary to do it, right? And bluntly, there are very few, I can only think of maybe half a dozen examples in the last 14 years where a black box test was worth the additional cost to that customer, right? It's just not typically. If hack me like the real attackers do, okay, what does that mean? Am I allowed to social engineer your people? No, that's out of scope. Am I allowed to physically break into the building? No, that's not out of scope. Okay, so you don't want me to hack you like the real attacker. Yeah, I do. Okay, but you don't, right? So we'll say to people, look, I could sell you a $60,000 black box test, but it's not worth it. Selling you a $30,000 gray box test is worth it for you. It meets your goals. Yeah, it's half the price, it's half the profit, it's half the whatever, right? But it's better for you. So that's what I'm going to do, which is where we get to the idea of like customer focus. And this is when you'll actually hear me say it. If you're ever on a sales pitch with me, you'll hear me say, oh God, I feel like a used car salesman. Because it's like, this is always we partner with the client organization. We want to be your best friend, like invite me to be the best man at your wedding, whatever. I don't know, right? The reality is we have to focus on what the customer wants. Like at Secure Ideas, a few years ago, we sat down and we're like, oh, we need a mission statement. I don't know, we're a real company now. And we were like, we have to do the right thing, right? And we talked to a variety of people, friends, customers, countrymen, whatever. And I still remember I told you like I got to hang out with Giovanni this weekend, and he's one of the people we went to, right? Because he's somebody every time I talk to him, I learn something new. I'm made better because he's just a good guy. I'm really hoping he's not on this webcast now that I've said this, but my phone's probably gonna beep and he'll be like, I am. So when we started working on the mission statement, I actually called Giovanni and said, hey dude, you've known me for a while. You knew me when I was at Guardians. You took a class from me. We become friends, right? He's one of my best friends. But I said, we're trying to come up with like a mission statement, and we're struggling a little with it. And what Jason came up with, because Jason Gillum is my business partner, and Jason, by the way, today is John Strand's birthday. So if you did not know that, please tweet him or whatever. Happy birthday, John Strand. But total tangent. I'm full of tangents. And what Jason had come up with was like a lot of people thought, okay, our mission statement is we'll hack you, or our mission statement will be best hackers in the world, or some crap like that. Our mission statement that Jason came up with is that we want our customers to have the best penetration testing experience possible. Right. And this is, it's deeper than that actually sounds like, right? We don't just mean they have fun, right? Because we have fun when we're hacking stuff. Sometimes our customers don't have as much fun because they're getting hacked. We don't want to have the best hacks. We don't want to have, well, we got domain admin in 37 seconds, right? Like just the other day, Jennifer, one of our consultants, she actually teaches with Antisyphon, Jennifer Shannon. She's a senior consultant here, smart as hell, like really, really smart. And she got pulled into a test last week. And I think it was 4 minutes into the test, she had admin rights in the application, right? That's awesome. Like that is so cool. It's so neat. Like, and I love it, right? Because when Jennifer joined us as a pen tester, she was not as confident, which we all are that way, right? When we get started in a new job, or am I going to live up to what this company thinks I am, whatever. And I'd like to say that, you know, I recognized from very early on that Jennifer was one of the smartest. But the reality is I suck. And we hired her. We thought she'd be great. And she turned out to be great. Right. And this is the perfect example, right? She stepped into a test that other people were working on and very rapidly leveraged her knowledge of APIs to find a flaw that granted her administrative rights to the application via this API. Right. That's just cool. But as cool as that is, as neat as that, like we're like, yeah, awesome, woo, right, whatever, right? The reality is that alone did not benefit our customer. Yeah, now she's got to write it up, right? She's got to write it up in a way that they understand it. She has to give them a recommendation that they can actually implement, not just, hey, do this, but something they can actually implement. And oh, hey, by the way, one of the biggest parts of our pen testing, right, is that we do these things we call ride-along pen tests, and we call them that because I watched too many episodes of Cops when I was a kid, right? But we want our customer to, when they finish the pen test, or whatever service we're doing, but most of what we do is pen testing, we want them to think, man, that was good for us. We feel better because of the results of that test. We feel like we got information to help us, right? And this isn't a sales pitch, right? Because I can give you, there's 7 companies on my website that are not Secure Ideas that will give you great pen testing experiences, right? Because that's what I want. It's part of that whole best pen test experience, even if it's not with Secure Ideas. We want you to be able to do it. And that's the customer focus, right? Let me give you the flip side of that. When we hired Brittany, we actually interviewed a bunch of candidates. We interviewed a lot of different people, right? And one of the people that we interviewed, you know, like, look, we're a bunch of nerds, and what we've done for sales is our consultants have done sales. If you called security and said, hey, I need a pen test, you talked to one of our consultants about that pen test, and that person drew up the SOW and sent it to you, and that was our sales process, right? So we're talking to people, what we're trying to figure out is, one of the reasons people hire us is because they get this good experience from us. They know when they call us, they're talking to the nerd, right? So we wanted to hire a salesperson that continued that. Okay. So I interview this guy, and the guy starts bragging to me about how he sells. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll listen. And what he said was that he would grab a clipboard and he would walk up to the building, and he would just walk past security and go to the CIO's desk or the CSO's desk or whatever. And he'd be like, hi, I'm here for my meeting. And like, that was his cool thing. And that he would do this. And while he was wandering around, he would actually sit down at computers and look at stuff. And then when he would go to the desk, he would have notes of, okay, I got into this computer and this computer and this computer and this computer. And that's what I did. And I said to the guy, and you had permission to do that? Oh, no, I didn't have permission. Ah, okay. That sounds interesting. And that's been successful. And he says, yo, yeah. And he starts rattling off names of companies that he has done this with. Right? But yeah, non-disclosure agreements. They're a thing. Here's the funny part. 3 of the companies, I am friends with the person this guy is claiming that he showed up to their desk. Right? So I called them. 2 of them I reached. The third one I reached later on, and by that point I had forgotten why I called. And now as I'm talking about the story, I'm realizing I should have asked him. But 2 of them, one of them was a friend of mine named Keith, and another one a friend of mine named Diane. Both of them said that yes, they had had a sales pitch by that person. Yes, they had talked to that company about doing it. No, this guy did not walk into their office. And one of them said that if they had done that, they would have called the police. Like if they had said that, and I know that is almost guaranteed to be true because of the industry that one person is in. And I'm being vague for obvious reasons, right? That nope, this never happened. This guy's lying. And I'm like, wow, really? That's your sales pitch to me to hire you, that I can trivially find out you're lying, right? So let's talk about some things that we've seen that really cause problems for this stuff, right? Automated AI. I'm sorry, automated pen testing. Automated pen testing. It's gonna save the day. This irritates the piss out of me, right? And I like the meme, right? I'm not saying it's fake, but it's fake. Here's what automated pen testing is. It's automated scanning mixed with marketing, mixed with hype. That's it. Notice I did not say pen testing or exploitation or good work. Automated pen testing tools and suites, every single one that I have looked at. I'm not going to claim that every single one out there is fake. Everyone out there is fake. They are glorified vuln scanners that have VC funding and AI hype behind them, right? That's it. They work great as a tool. There's a one out there, Horizon 3, I think is the name of it. And Horizon 3, if you go, like I was at GERCON last year, GERCON's conference up in Grand Rapids. Great conference. I'll be there again this year if you're up in the Grand Rapids area. But Horizon 3 was there, and I actually loved the way they were marketing themselves. They were like, we're a tool that will help a pen tester, right? We're automated pen testing to help assist. It's a tool, not the test itself. They actually marketed it that way of saying, hey, we can't do the pen test. We can be part of the pen test. It's like, man, that's awesome. That's good. Here's the problem. A whole bunch of people who sell that product sell it as a test by itself, right? Which is not Horizon 3's fault. I want to be clear. I'm not bashing Horizon 3. We'll go back to don't bash your competitors. But I'm really not, because they don't sell their product that way. At least I've not seen them sell their product that way. What I see is resellers or other organizations that will buy licenses of it and then sell it as an actual pen test. That's lying. It's not a real pen test. This is bad, and we have to fix this. The other one we see all the time, AI. Artificial intelligence will save the day. Woo! And let me be very clear. I love LLMs and machine learning and AI, right? The reality is what we have today is really, really cool and really neat. And I love the tooling we can get out of it. But it's only as good as your usage of it, right? I play with ChatGPT a lot. What is that? Singularity, perpendicularity, whatever the one is. I don't even know what it's called now. Geez, I use it all the time. It's great. But it's only great because I ask it questions that I at least understand some basics about, that I can vet what it does, right? AI is, this is why I have the chart that I have here, right? AI is a tool for InfoSec. It is not a replacement. And bluntly, in most cases, what you see is not, and I hate that we use AI because it's not really AI. You guys all know the difference between AI and machine learning, right? Machine learning is written in Python and AI is written in PowerPoint. It doesn't exist yet. We don't have AI. We don't have artificial intelligence. What we have is really cool systems like LLMs and machine learning and what have you. That's what we have, and that works. So okay, I've ranted about stuff. This stuff sucks, whatever. Excuse me. So how do we fix this? How do we solve this problem? And personally, I believe that there's a very simple thing. The foundation is education. Matter of fact, that's what it says on the top of the slide. Education is the foundation. Let me be blunt. If we don't educate, if we don't teach, this goes, I would call back to what Zach started us with, right? We have to go out and teach. We have to go out and educate people. We have to be educated, right? I said it earlier. I said it at the beginning of the talk when I mentioned Giovanni the first time. Every single time I talk to Giovanni, I learned something. Right? He's one of these people that I bask in his knowledge when I talk to him. I get to learn and experience and know things that I wouldn't know before. And I say that on purpose because I'll tell you right now, if you ever talk to Giovanni, which if you do, it's great. Ask him about Disney. But if you ever talk to Giovanni, Giovanni will tell you that I teach him. Right. And this, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it to point out that every single one of us has something we can teach somebody else. We can make somebody else better. We can improve. Right. It's that saying, all rising tides float all boats. That's what we need to do. We need to educate. We need to teach people how to do stuff and what it means. Right. Because if we don't, if we build on a foundation of tires, I don't know, that one just blows my mind. Like, what the heck? Right? Then what we've built is the leading tower of Pisa. A tower that's destined to fail, a tower that's destined to fall, right? InfoSec is destined to fall as long as we don't educate correctly. And then the next thing, the final thing I'm going to talk about is partnering with your organization. And yes, I use this graphic because of Wild West Hacking Fest. Everybody should go. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. We have to stop being in an ivory tower. We have to stop accepting the fact that our salespeople are going to lie, right? Alex didn't build a foundation for his empire, and he didn't partner with the people he should. And so Alex failed. We are going to fail if we don't work on this together. If I hear again about that person who says, oh man, right? Users suck, developers suck. We're users, we're developers. We are our company, right? I was out besides Tampa and I was presenting, and afterwards I was talking to this guy, and the guy was bragging about how he would walk around the office and he would flip the background on people's computer if their computer was unlocked. And he was bragging about, like, look at this funny thing I did to those stupid users. And I looked at him and I said, man, you're a fucking asshole. And don't get me wrong, I've done that. I was that guy years ago, right? And he's what? And he like bowed up like, oh, what do you call me? I said, I called you a fucking asshole. And yeah, I know Brian's tallying this. You pissed off a person that made a mistake that honestly is not that big a deal in the relative scheme of things. And what you've done is you set yourself as the other in this organization. And they're the same people. Let's be blunt. They are the people who are going to detect the hacks. The vast majority of breaches are not detected by InfoSec. The vast majority of breaches are detected by the users we are supposed to be partnered with. So if you're the dickhead that went around flipping backgrounds because you thought you were cool, are you going to encourage people to help you? If you're the salesperson or the marketing person that lied and exaggerated about capabilities, do you think the organization is going to depend on you for the next thing? We as InfoSec have to put a stop to this. We as InfoSec have to be better. We have to be. And that, my friends, is 3 minutes before the end of the talk. All I want to say is, and I don't have Discord up and running, so I can't see it. I'm sorry. We have to be better at what we do. We have to stop accepting this. We have to stop letting organizations lie about what they are and what they're capable of. Fuck them. Let's be better. Yeah, Brian's
16. We're at 16 now.
Was it only 16? That's good.
Only 16. Yeah, it was good.
I worked with somebody that would change the background.
I said, I would do that too when I was younger and stupid. But all it does is piss people off. And yeah, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on. But
might count that one.
You're gonna count that one. So I hope that was good. I hope you guys, I said, I don't have Discord up and running. So if there were questions there,
no, there's a couple that came in. But there's actually one thing that I do want to, because I'm on a lot of sales calls at BHS, or at least I used to be for years and years. the bad mouthing competition thing. I actually have a little bit of a twist on this with you.
Okay. Okay.
Because here's why. And I'm not arguing with you by any means. But when I get on calls with customers and they start bad mouthing their previous pen testing.
Yep. Happens all the time.
All the time. Okay.
Yep.
I always ask, what happened? Why?
Yeah.
What happened? And
Yep.
I will work pretty hard to defend the previous pen testing firm.
If they're worth defending.
If they're worth defending.
Yes.
And because there are times, and I'll be completely blunt, there are times when what you're telling me that you didn't like what they did says more about you than it does about the previous pen testing firm.
See, I don't think you're arguing with me, because that's exactly what I'm saying. When you badmouth the competitor, it's saying
Yeah.
more about you. And
No,
absolutely.
I'm saying the customer
No,
bad
no.
mouthing the previous. Yeah. No, no.
It says, because I've seen customers that'll be like, well, the pen tester didn't do this, and it's like, oh, that's cool. That sucks that they didn't do that. Or
Yeah.
like I'll make comments like, well, man, that's not my experience with that organization, or whatever. And then when we sell the test, we start working with them, and I see, oh, so you were mad they didn't start the test on time, but we've been trying to get, you know, a scope from you for 2 months, and the test is starting
You didn't show
tomorrow,
up to
and we
your
don't
rules
have
of
it, right?
engagement call. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, oh, maybe I know why you're pissed at your previous vendor.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The other thing I do a lot of, you know, because of our advisory service, we have companies that will have pen tests done by other people, and then they'll bring them to us
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, can you help me understand this? Can you help me review it? So I look at lots of pen test reports from other companies,
Yeah.
and bluntly, a lot of them suck.
Well,
Like,
and
that's a hard position to be in, right? I don't want to badmouth that competitor.
right. But I think, but it also goes back to a little bit of what John was talking about when the PCI rant that he did a few weeks ago, where he was talking about the new requirements for reporting within the PCI pen test reports, as far as documenting the methodology and things like that.
Yeah.
And that was like one of his things was like, this is great. This is what we've been doing forever at BHIS, is documenting these things ad nauseum sometimes to make sure that people understand what we did, how we went about doing it. They can almost recreate the test. And I think a lot of people, when they're doing these types of things and they see their report, if you can have the best pen tester on the face of the earth, this is what I tell people. It's like, look, at the end of the day, you're paying for a good, high quality report that you can understand what the heck's going on, what the heck happened, and how to fix it. You can have the best pen tester on the face of the earth, and if they write a crappy report, were they the best pen tester on the face of the earth?
Nope.
Probably not.
Nope.
Technically
There's no
speaking,
probably there. They're not.
Yeah, they're not. They maybe have the technical skills better than everybody, but
Yeah.
one of the most important things for being a pen tester is being able to write that report. And so
that's actually what the customer is paying for. Is
yeah,
the
it's
report.
100%.
Yeah.
Megan, what are the questions we got?
It looks like somebody asked, what are some examples of companies doing marketing the right way?
What are examples of companies doing marketing the right way? Well, Secure Ideas, Black Hills.
Yeah.
I have to go to another thing. Speaking of salesmen,
enjoy your other thing.
But Kevin, this was fantastic. I could sit down and you and I could talk for another 2 hours on this. I took notes on stuff like this was really good. I have so many stories we could exchange.
Well,
I'll let you all go.
Next time, let's do this again.
Okay. All right. See you. Bye.
Right. Yeah, I think that companies that are doing marketing right are the companies who aren't marketing how great they are. They're marketing by educating the customer on what the customer needs.
Right.
Like, we don't have any secret sauce. And I don't mean that as in we don't know cool things other people don't know. I mean, nothing we do is secret. You want to know how we do a pen test? I'll tell you how we do a pen test. You want to know the technique we use? Here's the script. Here's the code. Here's the technique. Here's this, right? That's if you're looking at an organization to hire for whatever service you're hiring, right? Whether it's pen testing or IR or building a pool, are they giving you the information up front? I ranted about this on Twitter the other day. I'm working on CREST certification for my accreditation for Secure Ideas. And one of the things we have to do is these certifications, and there's training that you have to do. And I reached out to Hack the Box, because and I'm trying to be very careful because I tweeted at the wrong people when I tweeted. I was an idiot. I tweeted at Hack in the Box, the conference in Europe that I want to go to. I'd love to speak there.
Yeah.
And I bashed them for being Hack the Box. Hack the Box is a training site. And if you go on and you want a personal account, it's like $20 a month or $200 a year or whatever. and at $203 a year, don't know why I remember that. Or you can do a business account. And so I okay, let me click business pricing. And it said, call us for a demo. I'm like, fuck you. I don't want to call you. I want a price, right? And I know the trick, right? You want to get me on the phone so that you can talk to me about what you want. I got it, right? So, okay, fine. I look around, I poke around, no public pricing. So I fill in the form and I answer all of these questions, right? About what I need, what I want, what I got. And I already know what I want. I know I want that service. I want 10 seats. I want, like, that's it. Okay. And I get an email from this person who wants to set up a meeting with me. And I'm like, I wrote back to the person, great, I'll get on a meeting with you, but understand, the only thing I want in this meeting is a price for what I just asked for.
Yeah.
And she wrote back to me and she said, "Ooh, that's not what we do. I'm going to get on a call with you and I'm going to get some answers to some questions to figure out who to have you talk to." And so I wrote back and said, "Look, I've already answered a bunch of questions. How about you just email me the questions?" Right?
Yeah.
No, we can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? Okay, so I get on the call. And she asked me the exact same fucking questions that I filled out on the website. And I actually said to her, does your website not work? Did you not get the answers to the questions? Well, no, this is just our standard out. Okay, so now what you're doing
Well,
is
then
you're pissing me
don't
off.
ask the freaking questions on the form.
No, they did. They did ask
but
the
it's
questions.
like, don't skip
Right.
that part if you're going to make me redo it.
Exactly.
I can't handle it.
So I say to this lady, I'm like, okay, I'm really irritated now, and maybe I was ruder. I probably treated her as bad as I treat Comcast employees. But and I'm like, fine. And she's like, okay, I'll get you to get an email from the guy. I was like, okay, but make it clear to him, because she gave me the name. She's like, I said, make it clear to him that the only thing I want is a price. I don't want to get on another phone call. I need a price. I need to make a decision. I need to make the decision fast. I need a price. Okay. And he sends me, she introduces, she includes the information that I gave her. That was, she said, enough to get a price. By the way, she gave me an idea of what people spend a year, and it's between $15,000 and $2.5 million a year was the quote she gave me. Okay. I said, that's worse than Comcast repair time zone. So I get an email from this guy that she has said, here's all the information Kevin's given. He just wants price. He does not want to get on a phone call. This motherfucker writes me and says, hey, on my Calendly below, just pick a time that we can get on a call and we can discuss your needs. And I wrote back and I said, we can discuss my needs right now. I need a price, right? Like, that's it. And so he wrote back to me and said, well, we got options and bundles and this. And I'm like, nope, never mind. I'm not doing it. Done. Pissed me off. Sorry, that was me ranting more.
They were like fake
you think you see that
hoops.
more with like VC funded companies?
I think that it is lots on VC funded companies, but I think that it's that we have taught organizations, sales organizations, and I've talked to this, I've read through training materials for salespeople, stuff like that. We teach salespeople that their job is to get that person on the call, because once you get them on the call, you can talk to them and massage things, lie to them, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like when you buy a car and you're like, look, I've already gone to my bank. I've got the loan. I want that car. I've got a quote for it. Let's sit down and discuss financing. No, I already got financing.
See what I can do for you.
Right. Let me see what I can do for you. It's this whole sales technique that once you've got them, you can then get more from them.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the opposite of what we should be doing. We shouldn't be trying to get more from the customer. We should be trying to provide more to the customer. I just talked to a customer this morning. All they want is dark web monitoring. That's what they want. Okay, great. Here's the dark web monitoring. Not only am I going to give you dark web monitoring, but I'm also going to give you access to a Slack channel where you can talk to my consultants. For the whole year you're subscribed to dark web monitoring, you have access to my consultants. And the guy said to me, how much does that cost? I'm like, it doesn't cost anything. Like, I'm not selling you something else. I'm giving you something else. Why? Because I want you to get the best and most out of that dark web monitoring that you possibly can. And bluntly, if I'm talking to you and helping you, you're probably going to call me for your pen test. And I said that to him. I'm like, look, there's an ulterior motive here, but I also want it to be better for you.
Yeah.
We don't do that enough. Sorry, I'm ranty.
So
No, I
somebody
agree.
asked,
Like, I
and
love
I don't
hearing
know
that.
if you answered this, did you give your thoughts on cold calls from salespeople?
If you are cold calling people or spamming people, you should die in a fire. We should be
There's
allowed,
your-
every single person that cold calls people should be punched in the throat repeatedly until they stop doing it. Cold calling is one of the worst fucking things you can do. It's unethical, it's immoral, and your parents and ancestors are embarrassed to be related to you.
Well, I mean, it's an opinion.
Yeah, it's cold
Yeah,
calling is awful.
Like I've gone through the sales training for different organizations, and it is that whole like, let's get on a call, let's make it 2 or 3, let's don't close the deal until it's like 4 calls in, it's so skeevy.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah,
Awful.
yeah, for sure.
Okay, sorry. I do have a stop in, I think, 10 minutes. I'm trying to, I don't remember.
Those were the only questions I saw. Let me see. Hold on.
Okay.
So Kevin,
somebody said, tell us how you really feel about cold calls.
Oh, it's funny is that's the Giovanni I'm talking about.
Oh, was it
I didn't realize he was
Giovanni?
online. Remember, I even said, I hope he's not on this webcast. That son of a bitch. So
We
you
all
started
wanna
to say,
connect
Kelly?
with Giovanni.
Oh, so Kevin, in the earlier days of InfoSec, it was so many scare tactics, and the big bad guy is going to get you.
Advanced
then
persistent threat.
Yeah, and then we went through this period of oh yeah, I'm going to hit you over the head with the compliance hammer until you comply.
Yep.
What chapter are we in now, in your opinion?
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think we're still at scare tactics in a lot of cases. I think we're maturing in some cases. I like I said, I was asked what companies are doing it right, and I mentioned my company and Black Hills and Red Siege. I think we're seeing a transition to educating and partnering, but true partnering, not used car salesman partnering. But we're not there yet. And I think Zach's question about do I see it more with VCs, and I'll add private equity to that as well, because that that quite often, right, a mix. I think what we have to be able to prove, and I don't know that we're there yet. I know that for us, we've proven it sufficiently for me to continue to fund the efforts, right? We have proven to leadership at Secure Ideas that putting forth resources to educate is worth it to drive business, right? And as we can show that more and more, maybe the next book from that guy who wrote Good to Great will be, from shitty to better. And it'll be how to move to this type of marketing. I think as we prove this out, we'll see more VCs, private equity, financial backers understanding that this is how we should do it. We'll hit that next chapter. I don't think we're there yet, though.
So can I add to what you're saying there?
Of course you
think
can. You're one of the greatest people I know.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. I think sometimes
agree.
and thank you. Oh goodness, I'm gonna blush. And I totally forgot. Oh, so as cyber people, I think sometimes we get lost in cool tools, cool friends, cool hats. By the way, Zach, love the hat. And we
That was a
forget.
backhanded compliment. I'm just saying.
No, I love the hat. It wasn't meant to be a backhanded compliment. Our job is to reduce risk.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes gets lost in the weeds of cool products and everything else that's going on. And I think as we see risk management becoming more of a better discipline, or people are trying to understand it a little better, I'd like to say that next chapter with cybersecurity isn't banging you over the head with a compliance hammer, but collectively and collaboratively solving problems to reduce risk. And that came out like a tagline. I didn't mean it like that, but I honestly believe from my heart that's what we're supposed to do.
I agree with you 100% that is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to collaborate. We're supposed to educate. We're supposed to be, I would love it if we could be at the point where people just assumed we were there to help. Like there, I don't have to convince you I'm here to help. You just know I am, right? I'm that person you reach out to. I've talked about this multiple times, right? I personally struggle with mental health. And when you're in that dark place, it's really hard to reach out to other people. And what I have found is very often people who use InfoSec services and things like that, they're in a dark place. It's totally different type of dark place. But when they reach out for that lifeline, when they say, I'm doing this, I don't know what's going on, I don't know how to handle this, I need more information, or I got a call from a good friend of mine, Dan, this morning, and he called me because he was working on a solution for his company. He had hashed out every possible solution he could think of, and he just naturally called me to say, hey, could you vet this, make sure I didn't miss something? And it wasn't a sales pitch, it wasn't something he pays for, it was just a, hey dude, you're a good person, I trust you, can you just tell me? And I listened to him, and we went back and forth a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, you got everything I know about, right? Like, but that's the ultimate, right? Where a person will just reach out and say to you, how do I do this, how does this work? That tells me, and I'm biased, right, because it was something done with me, that tells me I've succeeded with my goal with that person. And that goal is to be there for them, not be there to get from them, but to be there for them. And that, I think you're right, that we stop hitting people with the hammer and we start just being the tide.
Ooh, tide reference.
I hate
Yeah.
to say that it's like we're breaking the mold, but in many ways, like organizations like Secure Ideas, like Red Siege and Black Hills, we are breaking the mold significantly in this area. You know, a lot of people have come to me and say, like, why do you work with like Secure Ideas or Red Siege? They are competitors. And it's like, well, I mean, sure, if you want to look at it that way, I guess, but we're all friends and we're all here with the same purpose. We all want to help people.
If I'm going to lose a bid, I'd rather lose it to Black Hills or Red Siege, because I know Black Hills and Red Siege are going to do what I would do. They're going to provide that great information. They're going to provide that great service. You're going to provide that great service, that great information. I'm not worried about that.
And you know that if you don't have those resources available for you, it's like, oh, you right off the top of your head,
right,
go to Red Siege, go to Black Hills.
Right there.
We know,
like I
trust them.
You're listed on my website. Like we have an entire page on who should you call if you don't hire us. And here's the 7 companies. So guys, I really appreciate it. I apologize. I gotta run.
You're fine, Kevin. Thank you for being here.
I'll see you all at the next conference I see you all at.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you, Kevin.
We
Good to see you as
appreciate
well.
you.
Have a good day, Kevin.
Thank you.
Bye.
So for anybody who wants to stick around, we are going to do our after call a Q&A. So if you guys want to head to the backstage, you can start heading back there, and there you can ask us questions about Antisyphon training or questions about IT, cybersecurity, whatever questions you have. We like to do these QAs after all of these webcasts. So go ahead and go to the backstage now if you want to join us. Otherwise, we'll be here next week, same time, same place. Well, I think we'll only have one.
Yes, one. Just one next week.
Just one. And of course, don't forget, we have our Incident Response Summit coming up in June, and we are still accepting calls for papers. So if you want to submit your paper and come and speak with us, please check out the link. We'll be sure to throw it in the chat right now. But otherwise, you guys can leave or come join me backstage, and I can help you out. I'll see y'all backstage.
Thanks for coming, everyone.